Let's go down to Melbourne now and catch up with Liberal MP Zoe McKenzie. Good to talk to you again, Zoe. It's disturbing reports, I suppose not very surprising though, saying that mortgage stress now has increased 80% this year, especially in Victoria and New South Wales. Now, this is highly distressing for those people involved. There are people, as the Reserve Bank Governor said the other week, are going to have to end up selling their home, and it's only going to get worse in coming months.
Yeah, it is really concerning what's in the paper today, Chris, and great work by Dean Smith to bring this out last week. So it does show an almost doubling in Victoria and New South Wales, up 60 to 70% in Queensland and South Australia and Tasmania. So it's a really difficult time. We know that, I see this driving around the peninsula at the moment. You've got for sale signs everywhere. That is largely due to land taxes skyrocketing throughout Victoria, thanks to the state Labor government, but equally just people paying on average $25,000 more in interest alone for their mortgages. So it's no wonder we see such a stark increase in those who are more than 90 days in arrears in their mortgage payments. So really tough times, and I know Labor tries to tell us people have never had it better and everything's going so well, and the theory that economically, theoretically, things are going great, but let me tell you, no one's telling me it's going great on the streets of the Mornington Peninsula. You've got to keep in mind that people's homes, their mortgages are often their backbone, that funds that supply their small business. So it will have a cascading effect. As people struggle to pay their mortgages, it'll affect their business as well.
Well, as it happens, Anthony Albanese was out announcing government moves on social housing today, and we got this story again.
I grew up in social housing. I know the key to that security that Australians need is a secure roof over their head. That is what this is about today.
Yeah, I mean, social housing, and they talk about this scheme to invest government money in people's own homes. But the bottom line is the way to fix the housing crisis is to enable more people to get into housing, have interest rates low, make it affordable and easy to build your own home. That allows more investment and, of course, more rental properties. And we're just going in the wrong direction on all that stuff.
And honestly, can we just cut the hypocrisy? I've got hundreds of public housing properties on the Mornington Peninsula that are untenanted. They're just being left there to fall into the earth.
Why is that?
So, but because they don't want to spend the money on maintenance. I presume they just want to get them to a point where they have to be sold, and therefore they'll sell well, and that money will go somewhere else, not rather than being spent on the peninsula. It's the same with the Airbnb tax. The 7.5% tax they're going to impose, largely that will be paid for by people coming to my community over the summertime, and we will see absolutely nothing back for it. So I'm sick of the hypocrisy in relation to what they could do to help with homelessness right here and now, and then what they could do in order to get people into their own homes. We keep hearing there's billions of bucks they're going to be spent on housing. Well, I haven't seen a house being built by them yet.
Not one has been built yet. It's extraordinary. I want to get into this dispute between the government and Elon Musk. There was a story about what the Australian government's doing in the digital media space, and have a look at this tweet from Elon Musk. He recirculated that with one word, saying fascists. He called the Australian government fascists. Now, there's a couple of elements to this. There's one is putting the onus on the digital giants to make sure that kids under 14 or 16, depending what the laws will be, can't sign up to social media. They've got to identify themselves. Now, I'm all on the government side in that argument, and the digital giants have got to be made to lift their game. But where I'm on Elon Musk's side is this misinformation, disinformation stuff we're getting from Labor. These laws have massive potential to inflict a level of censorship effectively on the Australian population that we couldn't have dreamed of in the past. Surely the Coalition must be very, very sceptical about these laws.
Well, you have indeed heard David Coleman express exactly that scepticism on who gets to say what's correct information and who gets to say what's incorrect information. But before you go giving the Labor Party too much credit, can I say, Chris, on that social media ban, yep. Peter Dutton called for this ban in June, and he was specific about the age at which it should come into effect. And my friend Andrew Wallace has been pushing this barrow for years. I raised it in my maiden speech 2 years ago, so I'll be damned if you're going to give them too much credit for getting this moving. This has been a long-term position of the Coalition to do something about this. And yes, I understand that Elon Musk isn't happy about a notion that we won't let 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 12-year-olds sprawl their way around X or Twitter. But, you know, the car companies didn't like it when we put seatbelts on, and the cigarette companies didn't like it when we put warnings on them, and the wine bottles didn't like it so much when we put pregnancy advisories on there either. But the time has come. We have enough evidence now to know that something has to be done to make social media safer. There's just an age at which you are not to be subjected to the floods of nastiness, negativity, criminality, radicalisation, all the things we know dwell in the social media environment. It's time that we drew a line under it and did something to protect our young people.
You're absolutely right. And I did double check last week. You're right that you and the Liberals and Peter Dutton and others pushed this early and first. And then, of course, the Labor Premier in South Australia got up on it. And so Albo's sort of a latecomer to it, but he's doing the right thing eventually. But I still think on this misinformation legislation, this is the worry. We had our government censor us during COVID. They censored truthful tweets, truthful social media posts from the COVID discussion. So how could we possibly trust government or semi-government organisations to decide what is misinformation and what is not in the future?
Yeah, I think this legislation's got a long way to go yet before it reaches its safe landing ground for Australians, and we need to have some rigorous guardrails around that process. The original idea that was downright Orwellian, you know, it's kind of like 2 legs good, 4 legs bad kind of stuff. I'm glad that some of the most egregious stuff is out of the current bill, but again, we'll look at it hard and then we'll take it to the party room and have a fulsome debate, I'm sure.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us, Zoe. You might have to actually end up opposing that one. We shall see.